All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. Session after lunch is never very interesting, but with this kind of a gathering, who cannot be enthusiastic? So thank you so much for joining us today. So today we are going to talk about a problem that I'm sure so many of us would have dealt with: how to maximize return on investment from our IGA investments. Joining me today is Neha. Neha is a versatile leader, a techno business leader in identity and access world. She has been working across organizations, across geographies, trying to solve this very problem. She is someone who brings to table not just technical acumen, but also the understanding of their own internal customers. That's the kind of problem she has been solving. So we will take you through this journey.
Thank you so much, Mohit. So now let me introduce Mohit to you all. So Mohit has been working in IM from the past over more than 2 decades. He was CTO of multiple IM and security companies. Now he's working with CyberSolve in a position of CEO, and he has implemented several projects across several geographies. So he's an awesome guy.
That's our chest thumping right there. Okay, and let's see how it goes. Okay, so when we were planning this session, we thought, okay, let's take one environment as an example. What we did, we kind of pivoted from there on. We said, let's take an environment which is a typical situation. I'm sure a lot of us can relate to this. This is not representative of any specific organization, but this is something which so many of us can relate to. This is where these kind of problems manifest themselves. You would have a typical environment where the 100,000 users, it all becomes a blur. 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, the problem statement kind of remains the same. You would have applications that are heterogeneous. You would have applications that are SaaS apps, homebrew apps, custom developed apps, and everything else in between. You would have a situation where IGA generally is stuck in the first gear. It's not moving beyond that. There's a minimal deployment. Active Directory is integrated, maybe some few applications, and that is it. We are just stuck there. And these days we are seeing in a typical environment where this problem manifests, there is a renewed focus on risk and compliance. We are all seeing the kind of breaches that are going on in the industry. Because of that, one thing that is going on for us that we can latch on to is the renewed focus on risk and compliance. People want effective controls that are designed in line with what our business needs. So for this kind of an environment, we are describing how, from our experience across our careers, how we can realize more from what we have spent, and how we can make something that is very successful. Before we go to the success, let's see why these programs typically do not deliver. Core problems that we see. Alignment with business goals is not there. Oftentimes, this means it will result in reduced adoption. Our solution will sit as a very fancy solution that has been deployed, but people are not using it. As a result, support from other teams goes down. We are stuck in forever phase 1 situation. There's bare minimum feature set, but we do not have a rock star feature or a killer feature. In absence of a killer feature or rock star feature, okay, our solution is doing 5 things, 10 things, but nothing is awesome. That's another characteristic situation why programs fail. And lastly, technical debt. Now, legacy solutions, legacy deployments, you got to maintain those things. If you are maintaining those solutions, your resources get locked up there, not just financial resources, monetary resources as well. Because your resources are locked up, you cannot now invest those energies into building a new solution. So it results in a chicken and egg problem, a cash-22 situation. So these are the reasons why we see IGA programs fail to deliver. It's not the lack of product's capability. It's not the lack of the talent in your teams. It's these problems that we are trying to solve. So how do we solve this? How do we make this ship take off, the spaceship take off from the ground? It's a very simple 5-step approach. We're talking about establishing support and sponsorship right at the outset, finding our allies, then developing our mission plan, then talking about selecting the right tooling, right equipment, and then we focus on the speed, and then we focus on flying by the wire, having a metrics-driven approach. Intuition-driven approach, we are pushing it out the window. As programs scale, the larger environments we talked about, intuition fails us so many times. Okay, so let's see what does this mean for us. I think, okay.
Yeah, it is there. So as Mohit mentioned, that this is the approach for maximizing ROI from IGA, right? So first, in the first column, you can see sponsorship and support. The first one is to find the stakeholders. When I say to find the stakeholders, it means to identify the right people, right leaders who will get benefited from this IGA program. So in your company, these stakeholders may be your IT teams, ops teams, compliance teams, HR teams, right? Now the question is how these teams will get benefited from IGA. So the point is IGA can help in automating the onboarding process of new employees, one. Second, IGA can help in ensuring that terminated employees, their access gets revoked the moment they leave the company. Third, by enabling self-service so that employees can request and manage their own access, that would reduce the burden on these various stakeholders. These are few examples. There are so many features. But by doing this, we can help these stakeholders. We can take out their burden from them. So this is how we are going to benefit these stakeholders.
And important part, the examples that Neha gave, these are intuitive for everyone in this room. We are preaching to the choir, we know that. But this is not intuitive for your customers. So you got to go and explain this to them, use the power of demos, use the power of conversations, show them examples, show them case studies. For them, they do not know these things. So you have to basically show them, okay, this is a possibility. Is this going to be a killer feature for you? Basically, you are recruiting your supporters. You are recruiting allies who can help you in this journey. Otherwise, without allies, it will be a problem. And there should be a critical mass of allies. Just having the HR supporting us, sometimes it may not be enough. Maybe we can have vendor management also getting onboarded using, contingent workers based solution. So that's the approach. Focusing on the right support and the sponsorship is important. Now, once you have done that, you would see there are conflicting asks oftentimes. InfoSec teams would want additional controls, whereas HR teams would want faster onboarding, reduce friction. These are conflicting goals. How do we balance that? So it's our job in this community, it's our job to normalize those asks, prioritize that, but make sure those asks are represented up on the screen, on a figurative screen, so that people know that their requirements are going to be addressed sooner than later. That's how you build allies. That's very important. It's important to have a modular functional solution design. This means that for every ask that is coming in, we are not trying to oversell, but we are trying to focus on that specific ask. If it's a focus on, let's say, provisioning aspect, okay, there's a design only for provisioning, there's a design only for certification. All of these puzzles should fit together. Why are we doing that? We are doing that so that we can tie this back to the funding sources that are funding our project. That way, the entire program does not become hostage to a situation where priorities may be changing all the time. That's the idea.
And next is identify rockstar feature. First of all, I like this word, rockstar, right? We all are rock stars, aren't we? So identify rockstar feature means to find a feature whose value depends on the business needs, right? Every organization has a different business need. Every organization has a different priority. So we need to identify first their needs. If their needs are revolving around security needs, then a feature related to just-in-time provisioning or advanced analytics might be the stars, right? If their business need is around improving efficiency, streamlining the processes, then automated provisioning might be the most valuable thing. If business need is around compliance, that we can enable some features which demonstrate solid audit trails. That again is the beneficial for the company. So in order to identify the rockstar feature, we need to know the needs of the business. And once that rockstar feature is implemented, then we can add on incremental wins. We can add on additional feature on it. Another one is design for adoption. What I have seen in my career, this is the most challenging one. Adoption. People are not ready to adopt. They do not want to change. Whatever comfort zone they are in, they want to be in that comfort zone. So how do we make people to adopt this? So first of all, adoption should not be an afterthought. It should be a part of a design itself. How can we encourage adoption? So first way of including stakeholders at the very early stage, gather requirements from them, implement those requirements so that there will be not any back and forth between us, between IGA teams and the stakeholders. Another one is we can start talking to users for their user experience from the very start by giving them training, by giving them comprehensive material so that they'll be aware about the IGA program, and that would help them to adopt this. Yeah, Mohit.
So these are important examples. Using OCM, organization change management, is extremely important. I mean, thinking about the end users, that is crucial in this journey. If once we have done that, then we should move towards selecting the right systems, the right targets, what is going to benefit from this solution. At that stage, we should carefully select applications and systems. What is going to be really important is maybe using a quadrant-based approach. This is the approach that we have, one of the approaches that we have experimented with and we have found a lot of success. There are various mechanisms you can use. You can select applications by using risk scores or business criticality, sometimes ease of integration. But a very simple quadrant-based approach is on the x-axis you have business criticality. It can be a function of various parameters right there. Or it can be on the y-axis you can plot ease of integration. If you go with these scores, the platinum applications are the ones, if you invest time and energy in it, you will get the maximum bang for the buck. The bronze applications, which are difficult to integrate and nobody even cares about that, maybe they should go last. You want the initial momentum to be generated. That's the approach. The other gold and silver you can prioritize. You can also divide that between your internal teams and the service provider teams. That also is one potential approach. But this method has served us well. So coming back, if we look at this approach, again, there is another aspect here. What kind of a stakeholders? What is your experience there?
Right. So I would prefer to work with the stakeholders who are very supportive in nature, because what I have seen when I go to stakeholders on any application team and I ask them, I request them that this is what my platform does and it's going to benefit you in this and that way. But there is a resistance. There is a reluctance from their side. They do not want to change. They do not want to adopt a new technology, a new platform. So whosoever is coming to me with the full support, I will work with them first. I'll try to catch those low-hanging fruits instead of chasing people who are very reluctant in nature, because months and months go in making people bringing onto the same platform on which I am. So I would prefer to go with this. Bold and supportive owners come first for me.
So what Neha says is your quadrant and all are fancy things, they're fine, but I am going to go after those guys who are willing to take a chance on me. That's what I'm going to focus on.
Right. The ones who will support me, I'll support them.
Yep, absolutely. So that's a very sound advice, because you want momentum in here. You want a lot of action going on. And if this thing works easily, so let's use the keyboard.
Give it to me. Maybe it will work.
There you go.
Look.
Okay. All right.
All right, so next is need for speed, rapid execution. Too slow is almost dead. This is very true. If a program is moving very slow, it is very detrimental. Because if we are moving very slow, we are going to lose momentum. We are going to lose the trust of the stakeholders. They lose interest. That enthusiasm will go away. So we have to keep going in a momentum so that we'll continue getting their confidence. We'll continue getting support. So this is very important. Again, if we are going very slow, right, then the return on investment will also go down. If it takes longer to implement the solution, it will take longer to see the results. So what's the point of going in slow? Go fast, right? We are in a faster.
When that is happening, we are thinking we are de-risking the project. We are trying to minimize project risk. Well, that does not happen. If you are trying to minimize project risks beyond a point, people are going to lose interest, funding sources will dry up, your organization will be exposed in that during that duration. You would have orphan accounts. It serves no one going very slow. So the question is how to expedite things, how to de-risk while expediting. One model that has worked us, that has helped us well is a factory model of application integration. Now, traditionally, this is how we have seen. There's a team of versatilists, everyone is doing everything. There are people who are trying to go throughout the entire life cycle themselves. This is how it looks like, a traditional SWAT team model. What we are proposing is changing that to a factory model where there is moving from a SWAT team concept to that of a regiment, where everyone's core strengths are understood and people are focusing on core strengths. That way, it's like an assembly line. Things keep moving from one pipeline to another pipeline incrementally, and things work much faster. For a smaller set, maybe 10, 20, 30 applications, you may still be happy with the SWAT team approach. But we have a larger workload. This kind of an approach has really served us well. And if you work with this kind of an approach, your roadmap can start doing something like this. You can have a discovery track going on where you start discovering application, you start formalizing requirements, creating specifications, and then feeding on to the application onboarding track where your engineers are coming into the picture. They are the ones who are getting the plumbing built, getting the integrations built, and rolling out things incrementally. So that will ensure drama, that will ensure excitement, momentum into the program. That's what we're trying to chase. So this is how you can achieve the need for a speed, and you can maximize adoption. There will be jolts, as we were discussing about that. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, so whenever we kick off any program, any project, right, so there will be initial jolts, there will be issues, right? So in order to remove those jolts, what can be done? Like we can have executive sponsorship communication, like we can request our leaders to pass that message down to the company, to all people, so that they'll adopt it. The chances of grabbing that would be more, right? Another way is we can educate people, users, through trainings, through communications. We can have town halls where we can tell them about our plan, objectives, goals, timelines, right? And we can create success stories and then tell those success stories to the users so that participation will increase from the users.
And these jolts should not scare us, no matter what we plan, no matter what. Unforeseen situations can come up. They do come up. Priority shifts. Your engagement funding sources may shift. That can happen. But with this approach, it will serve us well if we continue doing what Neha explained. Initial jolts can be taken care of. Now, you want to talk about your approach that you...
Right, program management, right, constant visibility. We have kicked off a project, and if we are not taking care of the project, we are not looking at the metrics, we are not looking at the dashboard, we are not concerned about what is happening, what is not happening, this is gonna cause harm to us. So we have to keep a close eye on our program. How is it going? What are the blockers? What are the challenges? What are the issues? Once we identify those, then we need to work towards those to fix those issues, right? So constant visibility for a successful program is very much required. That can be achieved using dashboards, using defining key performance indicators, generating bi-weekly or monthly reports. If there is a need to escalate it, then escalate it to the leadership. If there is a need to talk to the internal stakeholders to figure out what is the issue, how that issue can be solved, that can be done. So constant visibility is very important.
And Murphy's law is real. Whatever can go wrong does go wrong. So we have to be, we like to be paranoid. The way we execute projects, we think it's about to fail. Every day we think like that. We have been told that, okay, we are building pressure. But this, like, you're seeing your kid grow up. You cannot not give attention to that, right? That's how we do it. Now, this aspect, the role that Neha plays, she has coined this term blocker removal as a service, right? That's called SAS and BRAS. So that's one important role that Neha plays, where her function is now transformed into someone who is always thinking of blockers. Ports not open, APIs not being available, application owners, they do not have resources or bandwidth to support. someone has difficulty, trying to convince people, trying to escalate when required, trying to maybe find alternatives, deprioritize. This has to be a constant activity that is required to be done by IGA leaders to make their program successful. Now, what's important here, if you're chasing adoption, how do you build KPIs? This is one approach that, whatever cannot be measured, of course, it's a cliche term, cannot be improved. But here, the measures should be such that do not become useless, that they do not become meaningless. If we have how many interviews you have conducted, if you set up that measure for our requirements formalization team, you will have meaningless interviews being conducted. Application owners would be slammed. So focus on utility is very important. Absolute counts, they are important, they are helpful. We have seen that more than event trends, deviations and delta-based metrics, they are the best. So if you see there's a baseline, maybe we were doing 20 applications one quarter and now we are doing 15, that's a cause of concern. So trends are important, but deltas are even more important. Examples of some of the metrics that have helped us, looking at applications, how they have been laid out across the spectrum, what kind of responses we are getting. If you are utilizing a mechanism for self-services based onboarding, how many people are able to utilize that, where are their difficulties, where are things getting stuck, and eventually using a gamification based approach. If you can show on a dashboard, who are the leaders who are supporting, as Neha said, the bold and the supportive ones, who are those guys, who are the ones who are falling behind, that really transforms the way people react to this kind of a journey where you are maximizing for a speed. So with this kind of a tool set, this kind of a framework, we can really, oh my God, fat fingers, too fat.
You want me to try?
I'll use the keyboard. There you go.
I don't have fat fingers.
Yep. So with this approach, with this framework, we are able to actually, as I said, what we have realized is not about the tool. All tools are in this exhibit hall, you will find they're all doing great. How we are using that, how we are adopting them, how we are integrating with systems, that is what matters. Oftentimes, we forget those aspects. We start focusing on the core plumbing issues, building connectors, building adapters, trying to focus on core code issues rather than looking at these aspects. Those things are essential, but this is essential too. If we focus on this, we believe we can maximize adoption. That's what our experience says.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And if there are any questions, we are here. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.